Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Mark here with Couchbase. And if you're affected by the recent deprecation of MongoDB's mobile support, you came to the right place because today we'll be talking about a better alternative to MongoDB Atlas Device Sync, formerly known as Realm, and that's Couchbase Mobile. That's what we're going to talk about all day today. So, of course, we'll refer to MongoDB's mobile capabilities collectively as Realm throughout. And today's event is going to involve a discussion with our longtime customer and trusted partner, Quantic, who chose Couchbase Mobile over Realm for their flagship point of sale application. So be sure to stick around for the whole webcast. It's going to be informative and fun. So we're joined today by two experts in offline first mobile and edge applications. I'd like to welcome Priya Rajagopal, who is the Senior Director of Product Management at Couchbase. She and her team are the driving force behind the Couchbase Mobile product strategy and direction. Priya, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, Mark. Happy to be here and excited to be joined by Arnav as well.
Great. Yes, I am also delighted to welcome Arnav Kaushik, who is the co-founder and director of software engineering at Quantic. And he and his team made the strategic product decision to go with Couchbase Mobile over Realm. And we look forward to really hearing about that, Arnav. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Mark. Pleasure to be here and talk about, the choice that we made from, the start of our product. And I think, it definitely fared well.
Great. Can't wait to get to that. And again, I'm Mark Gamble, Director of Product and Solutions Marketing here at Couchbase, and I'm going to sort of serve as today's master of ceremonies, if you will. So with that, let's get underway. And our panelists are free to go back into the green room until we start the panel discussion. Because before we get to that, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time going over the current state of things with MongoDB's mobile support. And then I'll go over the Couchbase Mobile product stack. We'll take a look at some features and benefits that make moving to Couchbase Mobile the right choice. And then finally, we'll open up the panel discussion and hear from our panelists. So you probably all know it if you're in attendance today. MongoDB has announced the deprecation of its mobile capabilities, formerly known as Realm, and that's namely Atlas Edge Server, Atlas Device Sync, and Atlas Device SDKs. So this deprecation is really raising concerns for developers who've been relying on MongoDB's mobile tools to build their offline first applications, because it forces them now to seek new solutions to rework their existing projects, as well as completely rethink their longer term development plans. So we're here to suggest that if you have to move mobile apps off of MongoDB, you should really move to a complete unified end-to-end database platform with a proven track record and over 10 years of mobile support excellence, and that's Couchbase Mobile. So my goal is to tell you why that is throughout today. But first, let's look at the need for an offline first edge database at all by taking a look at a cloud computing architecture and a little bit of an edge scenario here. So with cloud computing architectures like we see here, apps running on edge clients access data on database servers up in the cloud. And that's fine for areas where there's reliable internet connectivity and where the clients are fairly fixed in place. But for app clients that move around, like mobile apps, or apps in isolated areas, like at sea or underground, it might be tough to get a reliable internet connection. I mean, even a retailer in the middle of in the middle of a major city could find itself in an internet dead zone. So as such, this architecture can present challenges because when the internet is slow or unavailable, the apps can't access the data that they need to operate, and that results in a poor user experience at best, or at worst, business downtime. So internet connectivity issues can be debilitating, not just for user experience, but for business in general. And these are some of the main factors that drive the need for an offline first database. So now let's take a look at Couchbase Mobile, which has been delivering offline first edge and mobile apps for our customers, again, for over a decade. So our mobile capabilities, they're a specialty, but only part of our broader enterprise capabilities. So that's where the story begins. So Couchbase is a cloud-native, NoSQL database that's used to power gigantic mission-critical applications at our customers, such as LinkedIn and PepsiCo and Tesco, Comcast, Amadeus, United Airlines, big household names who use us to power their critical applications. And one of the main reasons for that is because Couchbase is so versatile and powerful. So it's a combination of database capabilities, which is why we call it multi-purpose. First, it's an in-memory key value store for hyper-fast responsiveness. Combined with that is the distributed storage of JSON document-based data for scale and resilience. It also has a big impact on development flexibility. And then on top of this, add support for vector search, full text search, eventing, columnar analytics, containerization, and of course, mobile synchronization. These are all data access patterns that customers no longer have to bolt together from a bunch of different technologies. They get it all in one single platform. And Couchbase supports relational constructs from cloud to edge, such as SQL queries and ACID transactions. And these are not typically found with document databases, but we did it so that developers can use their existing SQL skills. Across the bottom, we see deployment options. Customers can deploy and use Capella, that's our hosted and managed database as a service, or they can manage their own Couchbase deployments in the cloud or on-prem. And they can even create hybrid deployments. This becomes a fundamental advantage, in fact, especially when you start thinking about complex edge topologies. So this represents a broader Couchbase in a nutshell, if you will. The Couchbase mobile product stack is made up of three foundational components. There's the Couchbase server. This is what I just talked about, our flagship distributed NoSQL document database server. And then we have Couchbase Lite. And this is the embeddable version of Couchbase for mobile and custom embedded devices, which also supports SQL, vector search, and full text search, among other things. And then we have Sync Gateway. This sits in between and is responsible for secure data synchronization, routing, and access control between mobile clients and server tiers. So just like the broader Couchbase ecosystem, these capabilities can be deployed two ways: fully managed with Couchbase Capella and Couchbase Capella App Services, or self-managed, where customers install Couchbase themselves on public or private clouds, on a cloud edge service, or on-prem. So Couchbase Lite provides native support for iOS, Android, and Windows platforms. Customers build desktop and web server apps with .NET and Java. We support and offer a C API that allows developers to build applications in C that run on nearly any embedded platform. We also have community-supported platforms, including React Native and Flutter. We offer comprehensive synchronization with Couchbase Lite, cloud to edge when paired with app services or Sync Gateway, as well as peer-to-peer. You don't even need a central cloud control point for Couchbase Lite embedded devices to be able to synchronize with one another when they're in close location. And we were the first embedded database with vector search on device and in the cloud. And that allows you to enable offline first edge AI. So Couchbase Lite allows our customers' development teams to develop and deploy quickly because of that JSON flexibility. It's simple to use APIs for database CRUD operations. And again, that SQL query support. And I mentioned that vector search is supported in Couchbase Lite. And with vector search in Couchbase Lite, you gain the benefits of semantic search and RAG at the edge with no dependencies on the internet. And that reduces data transfer costs, ensures better data privacy, and guarantees ultra-low latency. And with the Couchbase Capella or Couchbase Server backend also supporting vector search, you gain the ability to leverage semantic search from cloud to edge, even when completely offline. So this is a fundamental advantage for future-proofing your applications for edge AI. And we also recently introduced a new product to the Couchbase Mobile product family. And this is Couchbase Edge Server, and it's designed to support a very specific set of edge conditions. It's a lightweight database server that's designed to power apps in internet dead zones on resource-constrained hardware. And these could be planes, retail stores, restaurants, event stadiums, and the like. So the database runs locally to serve data for local app clients. It offers a simple REST API data access model for web apps. And because it's part of the Couchbase Mobile product family, it of course can natively synchronize data via WebSockets downstream to Couchbase Lite embedded clients. And when internet is available, it can sync upstream to Capella, our database as a service, as well as its self-managed counterpart, Couchbase Server. So with Edge Server, local app clients can access data even when disconnected from the internet, while data synchronization to the cloud happens in the background whenever the connectivity is available. So when we consider the comprehensive capabilities and Edge support, edge computing is really how Couchbase Mobile addresses these issues of speed and reliability and security for applications by moving data storage and processing closer to the clients that use it and eliminating those internet dependencies. So in the edge device architecture, we see here in the cloud, we've got Couchbase Capella and app services or their self-managed counterparts, Couchbase Server and Sync Gateway running in the cloud. And then we have Couchbase Lite running on device and synchronizing data up to the cloud, leveraging, again, app services or Sync Gateway. And this is kind of a common architecture for mobile game deployments, for example. And another key here is the dotted line between the devices. This is indicative of peer-to-peer synchronization between devices that are in close location to one another. So in the edge location architecture, another supported architecture here, we introduce now in the middle an intermediate tier of data processing edge nodes running Couchbase Server and Sync Gateway. And these could be servers on a cruise ship, for example, or perhaps in a cloud service provider's edge service. And then we, of course, here in this topology also have Couchbase Lite running on the devices here, syncing to the cloud and via peer-to-peer. So the layered architecture here we've made into 3 layers, but it can really be any number of layers. And it allows for complex multi-layered edge deployments like you might see in healthcare or defense, where privacy is a paramount concern. But there are also, of course, those use cases where there simply isn't the computing infrastructure at the edge to run a full-blown multi-node database server cluster. And in some cases, edge apps that are read-centric just need simple data access for maybe a couple hundred clients in isolation, perhaps at a restaurant, for example, where an embedded database on device might be overkill. So Couchbase Edge Server was built just for this. So it's small footprint, REST API, and built-in data sync provide the perfect solution for resource-constrained environments that need to serve a few hundred local clients. And then, of course, when connectivity is available, Edge Server, just like every other part of the Couchbase Mobile architecture, synchronizes with Couchbase Capella or Couchbase Server in the cloud, as well as downstream to Couchbase Lite-enabled embedded applications. So it's with these capabilities that Couchbase Mobile can support nearly any complex edge computing architecture or use case. So now let's move into exploring some of the reasons to choose Couchbase Mobile as your alternative. So I'm just going to go high level over a few similarities and differences between our mobile support and MongoDB's mobile support. First off, both solutions offer a NoSQL Database backend, embedded persistence for mobile apps, and data synchronization. But arguably, that's where some of the similarities end. And while there are many differences between the two platforms, we just want to highlight some of the major ones. So first, on data schema flexibility, Atlas Device Sync is object-oriented. And it has its advantages, but it also requires a schema to model relationships, which increases the complexity of applications. Conversely, Couchbase Mobile is schemaless. It's a classic JSON document database, which also makes it flexible. So doing things like adding new fields and indexes doesn't disrupt any rigid schema, It makes upgrades faster, easier, and more efficient. On data access and query, MongoDB's embedded database requires a proprietary API and syntax that doesn't support joins or aggregations. These developers have to work around those limitations. While Couchbase Mobile supports SQL from cloud to on-device, meaning you can use the same queries across the app ecosystem, and it makes Couchbase easier for developers to adopt. On sync support, MongoDB's sync solution doesn't support things like peer-to-peer sync, meaning it can't sync without an internet connection to Atlas. And it doesn't support custom conflict resolvers, limiting use cases. Couchbase Mobile provides peer-to-peer sync, of course, meaning that the data can happen peer-to-peer between devices without an internet connection. Sync is optimized with Delta Sync and filters, and we allow customers to create their own custom conflict resolution policies, meaning we can support more sophisticated edge use cases. And on Edge AI, MongoDB only supports vector search in Atlas, and that makes it dependent on internet access in order to work. That means that there's no internet, there's no vector search. Couchbase Mobile supports vector search both in the cloud and on Couchbase Lite running on device, and that's what enables offline-first Edge AI features. So this is a great way, in fact, to future-proof your apps and add innovations going forward above and beyond Realm. So why is Couchbase Mobile the better alternative? I could probably spend all day on that, but we only have a finite period of time here. So these are the most important reasons here. First is that we have a fully unified end-to-end mobile database platform. Don't bolt on some third-party solution to Atlas. Move to a platform designed for both enterprise and mobile apps in the same platform. Leverage comprehensive sync capabilities that work both from cloud to edge and between devices via peer-to-peer, with the ability again to customize your conflict resolution policies. Leverage SQL across the app ecosystem, and that makes the adoption of Couchbase really quick and easy. Leverage deployment options that can cover on-device, on-prem, and in the cloud with as many layers as needed for speed, availability, or security requirements. And build the apps for your platform of choice and future-proof them with built-in vector search that runs on device at the edge. We've been doing this since 2014, right? Mobile is our specialty. It's a strategic capability for us, and we intend to keep evolving those capabilities into the future. So if we look at the key pieces of the migration, keep in mind, this is not a prescriptive guide. Just a high-level look at the three major parts of the process. So the first step is in taking great care, of course, to plan and scope the effort. This can save some time in fixing things downstream. Put proper care into planning up front. Don't underestimate the importance of discovery, scoping, and planning at the start of any effort. Another big piece, of course, is converting your apps to use Couchbase Lite instead of the Atlas device SDKs. Couchbase engineers have created an SDK comparison guide and associated video tutorials for Swift, .NET, and Android. All of those are linked in our resources for today's event. Be sure to take advantage of those. And of course, since data is the lifeblood of the application, you need to move the data from MongoDB to Couchbase. And finally, hydrate your device ecosystem via data synchronization. Then ultimately decommission MongoDB. And we have some helpful resources for this also linked that can help you plan a successful migration effort. So we have a lot of noteworthy customers across all industries using Couchbase Mobile. Some household names, others small startups, but all with those specific requirements for high-scale, offline-first mobile applications. PepsiCo needed an offline-first sync solution for its order-to-cash mobile app used by 35,000 sales reps and delivery drivers all over the US and Canada. So with the embedded Couchbase Lite database and cloud-to-edge sync, they conduct business anywhere without regard for or worry for the internet. Emirates Airlines, their flight staff use handheld tablet devices with Couchbase Lite embedded in the application. It allows them to access and update passenger information at all times, including while in flight and completely disconnected from the internet. Lodem Games embeds Couchbase to its most popular game to provide 100% uptime for its millions of gamers all over the world. They have 800 million downloads of their game, 4 Picks, 1 Word, and counting. And it's all managed through Capella App Services. And Groundhog provides solutions for mining and oil companies that guarantee speedy, reliable performance, even when thousands of feet underground and completely disconnected from the internet, thanks to Couchbase Mobile. So these are just some of the customer cases that prove out this ability to support deployments of offline-first mobile apps. And we're about to learn a bit more about Quantic from Arnav. So I'm going to invite my panelists to come back out onto the stage, and we can go ahead and get started with our panel discussion. And I'm excited for this, you guys. I can't wait. So Arnav, I'd love to start off with you. Can you tell us a little bit about Quantic? And we understand that you evaluated both Realm and Couchbase Mobile as options for offline first functionality, eventually selecting Couchbase. Can you tell us about that experience and how that went?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first off, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to kind of talk about our experience with Couchbase. We've been longtime Couchbase customers. I think we pretty much started with Couchbase the moment that we started Quantic. So we've been around for about almost 10 years now. And originally we had, a point of sale system built on your MySQL REST API infrastructure. And there's plenty of challenges with that. And I think we're all pretty familiar with that. But when we decided to pivot and kind of revolutionize the way that we were doing point of sale and change the user experience, and we started Quantic, that's when we made that decision to go with Couchbase. So I'll talk about that in a moment. But basically, Quantic is a cloud-based point of sale with some offline first capabilities. We have tons of different verticals. We can pretty much work in restaurants, retail, like liquor stores, and all of that. And I know a lot of people ask, are you really both? Can you do both? Can you do retail? Can you do restaurant? Because some systems claim to do both. But over the years, we've realized that we're not just a point of sale software company, we're a point of sale platform company. And what we do is we provide a platform for other businesses and other developers to also build on our platform. So we've recently opened up our developer ecosystem, and we allow others to extend on that. But one thing that we've realized with Couchbase especially is that as we've been growing our company and expanding internationally too, Couchbase Capella has been a huge success in deploying to the UK, where there's GDPR restrictions, deploying in the Middle East as well. And then our teams in Colombia and South America, and then India also can work on Capella at the same time. So yeah, just a kind of quick history of why we chose Couchbase. So originally we decided that we needed to switch out of our traditional, SQL and REST API infrastructure, and we decided to go with something that would have an embedded database on the device that would sync up to the cloud. And at the time, there were 2 options. There was Couchbase and there was Realm. This was prior to the MongoDB acquisition. So we initially actually started with Realm simply because it was super easy to just download a Realm app and get started. And, we thought, okay, if it's that simple to deploy for development, surely it'll scale at that level. That's not accurate. That's not how that works. What you realize very quickly, even when the development phase, is that there were issues with the object storage that, required migrations and constant, reaffirmation about your data structures. And when you're developing and when you're a startup, the last thing you want to do is go back and write migrations, 10 days into a development sprint. So we basically went through that practice, ran into some issues early on, and we started evaluating Couchbase. And to me, what stood out the most was the JSON schemas. The cloud sync was relatively easy to set up. I think you pretty much just do the same thing that you do with a WebSocket. So if you're a developer that has any experience with real-time communication, it's kind of out of the box. And then on top of that, the benefit of being able to write SQL queries on Couchbase was a huge plus for us, because our developers were mainly using SQL prior to our switch. And so for them, there was no kind of learning curve of switching to some, Mongo ORM or anything like that. And so I think that it was a combination of all of those that really helped us make that decision. And in the end, we went with Couchbase, started with a community cluster, realized that, we were scaling too fast. So we moved to enterprise, and then now we've moved to Capella. And as a part of that transition, we also reduced our query times by like almost 50%. So it was a pretty great success to move to Capella.
Fantastic. Love hearing that. And I thanks also for mentioning kind of the additional aspects of Capella enabling kind of faster rollout and compliance with GDPR, for example. Those are clear benefits that I didn't even realize about your use case. So great. It's clear that you're getting a tremendous amount of value out of Couchbase. So we want to continue kind of in that vein. But now I'd like to switch over to Priya. And Priya, MongoDB dropped mobile support, and if the forums are any way of trying to gauge how the feelings are, developers aren't very happy about it. So can you talk a little bit about our commitment to mobile support and mobile capabilities at Couchbase?
Sure. First off, again, nice to be here and happy to be part of this panel discussion. To answer your question, Mark, absolutely. We are here to stay. As you mentioned, Couchbase is a cloud to edge data platform. So edge is a very critical part of our product stack. You mentioned the innovations that we've been bringing in for over a decade in the offline first space. We recognize that with evolving use cases, increasing application complexity, and also just shifting market demands, right? That we have to continually advance our offerings, address product gaps. And that's reinforced by some recent enhancements that you just talked about. And I'd like to double click on them once again, because they're important for anyone picking a platform to know what's the future of the platform, right? And what does the roadmap look like? And so first off, the vector search at the edge with Couchbase Lite. You mentioned that, but again, we are the first NoSQL database platform to offer vector search in the cloud, as well as at the edge. The benefits of Edge AI are well known now: data privacy, reduced cost per query, bandwidth savings, low latency, and such. And so what this means is with this capability, vector search on device, you can build Gen AI applications that can do local semantic search and inferencing by leveraging Couchbase Lite, so vector search capabilities, and coupling that with the benefits of small language models that can run locally on the device. Some of the feedback, right, from developers who have tried our APIs has been pretty positive. Ease of use, Arnav talked about developer productivity, and that's important. I mean, it is very complicated what we are building, but we wanted to make sure that the facade and the API is extremely simple. And we've got some very, very positive feedback on the simplicity of the API and the query that we support for Edge AI. And also in terms of the whole small language model ecosystem, right? The market is evolving, and we're seeing a lot of advancements in the areas of SLMs. And just last week, Google announced fully on-device their Gemma 3 model that's around 500 megabytes that runs on your iOS, Android devices, right? And this is where the market is going. So Edge AI is here to stay. That's the future of distributed AI, and we are ready when the market is ready. The other release that you talked about, Edge Server, that's important, right? It's a new addition, right? We have our stack, mobile stack. It's been there, serving a gamut of a full spectrum of use cases in the offline first space. But we still introduced just last month a new addition to the mobile product family, right? And as a reminder for folks who joined a little late, it's our standalone lightweight database server for supporting offline first applications for the resource constrained edge. And so it's targeted to meet the needs of specific subset of use cases where resource availability is low and resource needs are also relatively low. So a full-featured server sync gateway platform, right, and a full-fledged data center on the edge is sort of an architectural overkill. So these are the two big advancements to sort of validate, right, and evidence of where we are headed. But I just want to also highlight that we have had, if you look at our the past year or in the past months, right, regular cadence of releases on Couchbase Lite, Sync Gateway, app services. So just last month, we enhanced our query API support, the SQL++ query API support. Now you can do stuff like unnest, array indexing, and so on. And so we're bringing more parity with Couchbase Server. So in general, or rather in short, right, we remain focused on delivering large-scale enterprise-grade enhancements, as well as all these features to enhance developer productivity. So absolutely, we are committed to mobile on Couchbase.
Wow, that's really clear. This amount of kind of the current things that you and your team are delivering, as well as the things that are coming that are planned, really underscore our commitment to this. So thank you for those comments, Priya. Let's go ahead and stay with you for our next question. And arguably, Couchbase Mobile can replicate what customers have built with Realm with just kind of the basic features that we provide. But where does it go beyond Realm to increase the value of mobile apps? What are some of the things that folks that make the move will probably didn't know they could take advantage of, but now they can with Couchbase Mobile?
Sure, I'll start, and I'd like to sort of let Arnav chime in again with some of his experience, right? As you mentioned, right, we provide all the functionality that Realm offers in terms of an offline first offering. And so you had a slide where you described the migration process. So with an appropriate migration plan in place, applications can migrate over. They avail all the same offline first functionality. That said, and we've got folks doing that, right? And we've got also templates for facilitating that. That said, there are some key differentiators with our offering. You had a slide which talked about it at a high level, and I'd like to double down on some of them to reinforce some of that value proposition. You mentioned unified cloud to edge support, or JSON document store support, right? And that's very important. And I want to mention why, right? It's JSON in Couchbase Server in the cloud. It's JSON in Couchbase Lite at the edge. There's no data transformation that's happening, no connectors, no adapters, nothing that has to transform from JSON to some other data format. Arnav talked about ODMs and ORMs. You really don't need any of that, right? As such, without any of these transformations, your architecture is very simple, right? You're not piecing together any disparate systems, and it's also very performant. The schemaless nature of JSON document store, right? Although Mongo itself is a JSON document store, Realm is, isn't. You mentioned the object, it's an object data store. And the schemaless nature of JSON document store comes with a lot of benefits. Arnav, actually, it's interesting. He mentioned about some of the benefits when it came to developer productivity. And in my experience, it's also very important or relevant in the context of mobile applications, because all these schema migrations can also add to the startup cost of the application. So even after the apps are developed and they've rolled that out, depending on the versions of the applications, and if you're 3 versions out and upgrading that through multiple versions of the schema, that all adds to that startup cost. And we know how picky developers or users or mobile users are, right? If the app is taking too long to launch and start up, they're probably going to abandon your app. So that first impression is extremely important. You mentioned SQL++, and that's really important for anyone who is migrating from Realm, right? SQL++, for the folks who are not familiar, is SQL for JSON, right? And so you actually are combining the benefits of a flexible, schemaless JSON data model and the familiarity of SQL. So folks, developers who are migrating from Realm don't have to now ramp up on a new query language, right? If they worked with some sort of database, and if they work even with SQLite, for example, SQL should be very familiar to them. And SQL++ is really an extension. And so the ramp up cost is significantly low. And the unified, I keep coming back to the unified story because this is important. The same queries that you're running in the cloud, you can run that same query in Couchbase Lite. Think of the development costs, right? I mean, you're going to reduce that. The test costs, right? You're going to reduce that as well, right? It's the same data. You're probably syncing a subset of data, but you can run that, build those queries once, the same indexes, run it on edge or on mobile. So that's why I want to sort of reinforce that unified. Why is it important? And hopefully Arno might have also some direct experience feedback that he can provide. Sync. You talked about the topologies that we can support, right? And that's very important because our sync protocol is very flexible. You can support all of those deployment topologies, right? And that's important when you're talking about the varying needs of your edge computing applications. You may be starting really small or really simple today, right? You have a cloud based architecture, right? Everything, your data is in the cloud, you've got clients at the edge. But then as you scale, right, you might need to bring in the middle tier component, right? And or you might need to do peer-to-peer sync. And so we need a sync protocol that's flexible enough to support all of these, right? And so for folks, again, migrating to Realm, while you can actually replace your existing applications, it's like what is possible in future, right? And you touched upon Delta Sync, but I'm not sure if folks understand the nuance over here when we talked about Delta Sync. I mean, everyone gets sync, right? We get differential sync. Anytime anything gets changed, you sync the documents that have changed. Delta sync takes it one step further because here you are syncing only parts of a document that has changed. So imagine the bandwidth savings you get, right? You got like a 10 kilobyte document, but you've just changed a status field in that document. Instead of actually sending and syncing that entire document, you're going to be able to, the protocol automatically takes care of syncing just that byte, and it's automatically going to patch it on the receiving end, right? And developer, from a developer standpoint, you don't really care. You turn on a flag and the sync protocol does the rest, right? And so I think we already talked about some of the edge AI capabilities, right? And that's important. That's where we are headed when it comes to agentic applications. It's running in the cloud. You're going to have those running at the edge as well. And we sort of a forward-looking platform in general. I don't know if Arnav, you got anything to add to these? I know you talked about some of these already, but
yeah, I mean, I think some of those points and just kind of reinforcing the unified platform, I think that is the most important thing. As a developer, the last thing you want to do is learn 10 different SDKs. And I think what makes such a big difference in the way that we interact with Couchbase is that Couchbase Lite on iOS is the same as Couchbase Lite on Android. And the queries that we write on the web are the same as the ones that we write on mobile. And basically reducing the amount of time that it takes to understand data on different platforms has made our rollout significantly faster. I think we're able to develop features at a rate that many point of sale companies just can't in the industry. And that's because the nature of our data is that we can adjust things as we go. And that kind of goes back to that point of database migrations, where I think anyone who's worked with database migrations knows that they don't want to work with database migrations. I mean, it's very, very tedious. It involves, communication with your clients. It's very difficult to do, especially when you're dealing with clients that may not actually be available when you need to do these database migrations. And one of the biggest challenges we've had since we've started growing is that our clients are now spread across the 24-hour time. In the past, we were pretty East Coast focused and pretty focused on like the 9 a.m. to like 10 p.m. kind of time. And then all of a sudden, we now have clients that are 24/7, or we have clients that are, night only. And so for us, it's like, when do we find the time to do a database migration? Well, with Couchbase, we don't have to. And I think that, that really speaks to the benefit of the JSON schema, and it speaks to the benefit of syncing. We have devices where, they go offline for 3 or 4 days because, storms and whatnot. And then they come back online and all their sales data is synced up, and it's, everything is accounted for. So I think that it really does make a difference to be on a unified platform. I think that when you're looking for 20 different tools to achieve, bringing data from one place to another, you end up adding a ton of different points of failures that you don't need to introduce. And I think that Couchbase has done an excellent job with that. And we constantly see new features coming up. Delta Sync, when it came out, I think day one, we enabled it. Like, I don't even think there was a point of contention. It was just, okay, it's here, so we're going to enable it. Same with this, the conflict resolution. Like, when we started, we looked into it and, made sure that we were good on that front. So yeah, it's really just, I think in terms of the value that it adds to the mobile apps, I think that you can really start to see it once you start using it. But the main things are the fact that you're not dealing with, different data transformations. You're not dealing with complex configurations. It's really just as simple as setting it up and connecting to it. And I think that makes like the world of a difference.
Wow, thank you both for really breaking it down. It's one thing to say they have equivalent functionality, but when you really start digging into it, into the details, you can see just the level of thought that Priya and team have really put into making Couchbase Mobile as robust as completely possible. Let's change it. Oops, I got one slide too far there. So Arnav, talk to us about the future of Quantic. How do you see the kind of your product evolving going forward, and any areas you see, Couchbase maybe fitting? Can you give us some ideas around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I mentioned it earlier, but Quantic is now a platform company, right? And what we really try to push is the fact that if you are someone who sells point of sale, you can build on this platform. And it's not just as simple as, signing up someone for Toast or Square or Clover. It's you're basically making it your own product by extending it with whatever you need. And one of the things that we've done is we've become one of the leading white label solutions as well in our industry. And with almost 30 brands out in the market, I think that it's very clear that there is a need for something like that. So one of the places where Couchbase can certainly help with that too is something like a private cloud, or allowing our customers to really control their data too. But yeah, in terms of other things that we're looking at in Quantic right now from a Couchbase perspective, I know that with Couchbase Lite, there's some major improvements coming up for indexing. So we're going to be optimizing a lot of that. But more importantly, I think the AI features on device are going to be a very big update to our system. We do a lot of reporting on the cloud, and that's great because the cloud can be significantly more powerful than a device. But then when you run into issues is when the devices go offline and we need to run reporting. So I think having kind of some smart reporting on the system when you're offline will be a very great value add. But at this point, one of the reasons that we love working with Couchbase is that we're always kind of informed about what's coming and what's new. And because of that, we've also kind of jumped on every single feature as soon as it's out. We have a call pretty much every time there's something. And as Couchbase grows, we continue to grow with them, and I think that it really does help. And it's a great partnership, but more importantly, I think the tech is just there to speak on itself. I think that there are plenty of features where we really see the value, and with AI features, with peer-to-peer, with this edge server too. I think that those are really great features that we'll be utilizing in the next few months, basically.
Fantastic. Thanks for your thoughts there. We're getting close to time, but let's take one more question for each of you to weigh in on. So we talked a bit about Edge Server. Again, that's our latest addition to the Couchbase Mobile product family, the resource-constrained Edge Server for various use cases. I'd love to hear, Arnav, your thoughts on what might its impact have on point of sale type edge systems, and then Priya, we'll ask you to maybe expand on some other use cases. But Arnav, your thoughts first around the impact it could have in your line of work and your industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing to note is that most of our merchants are running hardware that is specifically for payments. And the one unfortunate reality about payment hardware is that it is very behind. It's almost years behind. And because of that, it's very resource constrained. Now, there are advancements in the payments hardware industry, but we can't account for that as a software company. We can't assume that everyone is going to be on the latest and greatest. So one of those challenges that we run into, especially with some larger merchants, is that the type of hardware they use, or the different they sometimes use stations along with floaters, and it's just a mess of different devices. So one of the things that we really want to do is bring a lot of those larger data sets, like the inventory or the customer data, and bring it down to the edge location, which will allow them to effectively reduce a lot of that time that it takes to deduct stock or add stock or assign customers to orders. And we think that, especially in situations where there's a lot of devices on the network, stadiums are a big one, large retail, grocery stores, those also deal with the same situation. With a lot of devices pointing to the same data, it doesn't make sense for each one to individually connect to the cloud. It makes more sense for them to all point to one kind of point at location, and then send that data up to the cloud. And then that should help resolve a lot of bandwidth issues, should resolve a lot of the conflict issues, simply because you're reducing it down to one. And I guess like a quick note is that we actually did try to build our own edge server a few years ago. When I think this might have been like year 1 or 2 of using Couchbase, we thought like, okay, there should be a solution for this, right? Where we can bring the data down and then use it in the like restaurant itself or in the retail. And we didn't really get too far with that. We didn't explore it too much. But when this came out like a few months ago, we were in that first call. Like as soon as it came out, we were like, we need to learn about this, because it's really great, and I think the potential is there. So we're excited to see how that will play out.
Oh, thanks for your comments, Priya. Any thoughts on that or other use cases for Edge Server?
Sure, and I'll try and keep it brief so we keep time. As Arnav mentioned, right, great partnership. A lot of the innovations that we have on our platform is actually inspired by our customers and our partners. So Edge Server being one of them, right? And Arnav articulated the POS use case. It's a fantastic use case for Edge Server. You mentioned some of these other industries, right? Airline and events and so on. So in airlines, think of in-flight entertainment systems, right? Seat back applications, and you want passengers on board the aircraft. And it can range from 50 seats to a few hundred seats, right? They want to have uninterrupted access to their meal ordering systems, the entertainment systems, even in flight, right? And no connectivity to the remote cloud. And for that, a lot of the data, metadata for the meal ordering applications and say the metadata for the entertainment systems, they are all served by a local server on the aircraft. We are not going to have a data center on the aircraft. And similar to what, it's not necessarily old hardware, but we can't really go to aircrafts and say, okay, why don't you upgrade the hardware in the aircraft so you can run a full-fledged server. And so that's where those are the kinds of resource constrained environment, because they are going to be, you have a fixed set of resources. They necessarily can't be upgraded. They are going to be shared with a bunch of other applications. And then the volume of clients, right? We're talking about it can be a few dozen to a few hundred, right? And so that's a good use case. Stadiums, theme parks, right? Anytime you're have users or attendees or visitors scanning their e-ticket, you want those ticket redemption event to be synchronized in real time across all the gates in the stadium, right? And we are talking about thousands of visitors. And so you don't want, not saying that we do, but we don't want Mark and Arnav to use the same ticket and walk in through two gates, right? So you need that to be synchronized. And you can actually do it with Edge Server. We talked about it as a standalone database server, but it also actually, you can sync data both unidirectional and bidirectional between edge servers. So you think of edge servers deployed at these gates, and you're scanning, and that scan event is synchronized in real time, right? And so these are, you get the idea. I mean, I can go on and on about some of the other use cases in the retail sector as well, but just in the interest of time, right, I'll stop here, but happy to answer any more questions or specifics that you or the audience may have.
Yeah, I really appreciate both of your thoughts. It kind of breaks it down. It's one thing to sort of hear the concept of, okay, it's going to be resource constrained. You know, how often would you need that? But then here you guys break it down. It's more prevalent than anybody probably would even think. So we anticipate, yeah, Edge server being able to, you know, it's perfect for those type of use cases. So thank you both for all of the great thoughts, all of the feedback, the comments, the discussion. It's been really fascinating. Hopefully you folks in the audience agree. And to wrap up, you know, we've been doing mobile at Couchbase for over a decade, and we're not going anywhere. You know, if you're affected by the recent deprecation of MongoDB's mobile support, Couchbase is here's that better alternative, providing an end-to-end enterprise-class mobile database platform built, right? Purpose-built to power apps at the edge that are always fast and always on, guaranteed. So take advantage of these great resources. We've got a lot of them for you. We talked about several in your Goldcast viewing panel. You can see these in the Docs tab, and take advantage of them. Just a lot of great things to help you kind of better understand what Couchbase Mobile does, but also there's that SDK comparison guide, how-to videos, and lots of other things to help make your migration just as smooth as possible. So Arnav, I'd love to thank you for joining us today. Just fascinating discussion. Your comments were great. Really opened my eyes to how you're utilizing Couchbase. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And Priya, thanks also to you for joining us. I know in your busy schedule of putting out this amazing product, it was great to have you join us today, and really appreciate, again, all of those great comments.
Sure.
So at this point, let's see if we have any questions coming through. And again, okay. So Richard asks, does Sync Gateway support basically sync data between Couchbase Lite and MongoDB Atlas? And I'll let you field that one, Priya.
Sure. The quick answer is no. And the long answer, hopefully you've understood why, because we pride ourselves on a unified cloud-to-edge database platform, and you get the benefits, the various benefits that we spoke about having a unified platform. It's possible only if you have Couchbase Server in the cloud and at the edge. So you have the unified SQL++ query API, the synchronization, high-performance synchronization, the multiple topologies. All of that is possible because of the unified architecture.
Great, thanks. Priya, there's another one coming in from Dean on Swift UI support.
Sure. So Dean, as you know, you can work with iOS SDK within the context of Swift UI. It's not necessarily a tight integration. We've intentionally kept it that way because we wanted to make it easier to develop applications, whether it's on Android or on iOS. You can have a clear model layer instead of having something which is tightly integrated into UI. But that said, without giving too much away, there is upcoming release of iOS Swift, which is going to make our SDK more. We have some observability related enhancements. It's going to make it much more reactive. And so although we have light queries today, you're going to see some enhancements that I think you're going to like, which is going to make it easier to work with Swift UI and the like.
Great, thank you. There's one question that we get often, especially with the advent of Edge Server. So we'll end with this question. What's the kind of difference in when to use Couchbase Lite versus when to use Edge Server? Do you have some comments on that, Priya?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I think we very you sort of articulated the distinction between Edge Server, Couchbase Server, Sync Gateway, and where it fits in the middle tier. So at a high level, right, Couchbase Server does not replace Couchbase Lite in the same way that Edge Server does not replace Couchbase Server or Sync Gateway. Each of them are purpose-built for different use cases. Now, specifically to answer that question on Couchbase Lite and Edge Server is a server. It's a standalone database server, right? Couchbase Lite, on the other hand, is a client database that you would embed within your applications. So if you're looking for a client database and you want offline first support, that's where you would use Couchbase Lite. Edge Server is a standalone database. That's not a database server. It's not something that you're going to be bringing into your mobile iOS application, for example. Your Swift application is going to be using Couchbase Lite, and it could be syncing data, of course, with Sync Gateway or with Edge Server.
Got it. Makes sense. And thank you for clarifying that. And I think with that, we don't have any other questions in the Q&A panel, and we're at time. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Arnav, Priya, fantastic discussion. Thank you so much again for being here today. And to everyone in attendance, thank you for joining us. Again, take advantage of these docs. Go to the docs tab. There's a ton of great resources. I believe we'll also be providing links to those resources in your follow-up email, where you'll also get a recording of this presentation. So on behalf of myself, Arnav, and Priya, I'd like to thank you for attending today and have a great rest of your day.